Welcome to the Lit Up Lightworker Podcast, bringing you fun and soulful interviews with spiritual teachers with the aim of tuning you in and lighting you up. You can access all episodes of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos and interviews all about finding and following your life purpose. My name is George Lizos. I'm a spiritual teacher, intuitive healer, the author of Be the Guru, Lightworkers Gotta Work, and the #1 best-selling Protect Your Light. And today I have with me Cale O'Donnell. Cale O'Donnell is an international psychic medium and Australian author of 3 Minutes with Spirit. You might know him on the video sharing platform TikTok, where he inspires people with hope through his intuitive gift. Cale, welcome to the Lit Up Lightworker Podcast.
Thank you, George. Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening. It's finally awesome to meet you guys.
I'm so excited to have you here. We've been talking about this book while you were writing it, and I'm so excited to see the whole process come together. And now you've recorded your audiobook, it's coming out, and I'm so excited for everyone to read it. I already read it and I loved it, and I can't wait to chat all about it. But before we get into the juicy stuff, I want to hear a little bit about your journey of coming to this point where you wrote this book. So what has been your journey to doing this work?
Yes, so I basically started off coming from a background of science, working in psychology, and so spirituality was totally foreign to me. In fact, I remember when I first started out, and you know how we reference spirit, I would hear these gurus talk of spirit and spirit saying this and spirit saying that. I'm like, who in the world is spirit? Like, what are they even talking about? And so I started off with, I just need something to teach me the basics. Like, teach me what a spirit guide is. Teach me what in the world is the higher self. And so because I needed that when I first got started in this kind of work and coming into the spiritual community, I thought, well, I need something for myself. And I know that so many people coming out of the pandemic and coming out of, their shells and things, and having these kind of lifetime crises and things, I thought, well, I write a book so that people can have a foundation to start from. Like, what is a spirit guide? What is the higher self? How can I connect in with source and learn more about, spiritual basics? So that's basically how I got into writing the book. I hadn't even thought of writing the book. In fact, Penguin Publishing House reached out to me, and I had it on my mind that I wanted to write a book, and I didn't know how to get started. And then one day it just I looked into my inbox, and Penguin was waiting for me, telling me that they want to team up with me and write this book. So that's how Spirit basically pushed me to do it, and that's how it got started.
I love that. It's definitely an introductory guide, but it's content packed. There is so much wisdom, so much information there that's laid out in a very easy to understand and actionable way that will allow anyone, whatever their journey is, wherever they are on their spiritual path, to amplify their connection with themselves, with the world, and with source. Now, you divided the book into 3 parts: looking inside, looking around, looking beyond. I want to go into each and every part and hear why you chose those specific concepts. But before we do so, why 3 minutes with spirit? Is there a significance behind the number? And what was the intention behind creating short, bite-sized information for people?
Yeah, well, the 3 minutes with spirit was because 3 is my number, and 5 minutes was too long, I think, for busy people. So I thought, well, because I was going to go with 5 minutes with spirit, but it didn't have the same ring to it. So I set it over to myself. 3 minutes with spirit sounds like better. So I stuck with 3 minutes because 3 is like the 3 parts of the book. It really was like a spiritual thing. And so I went with 3 minutes with spirit and created these little exercises, and the looking inside, looking beyond the parts of the book is, I believe, one of the best quotes from the book, I would say, is that to find spirit out there, my clients want to look for loved ones out in the spirit world and spirit guides, but to find spirit out there, you have to find spirit within. And I believe that we sometimes underestimate how powerful we are as living human spirits, or in the human condition. And I I wanted to elevate that in the book and bring that to light. And that can be found obviously in chapter 1 with probability of you. And that's really where I took things. So I think that that's breaking spirit into bite-sized chunks, not only at the end of each chapter with the 3-minute exercises, but into the parts. It helps you kind of lead into learning about loved ones. It helps you respect life, and it helps you to understand that you can't dismiss your own spiritual side as well, that you are a spirit, not you have a spirit, you are one.
I love that. And there is a lot of focus in the spiritual community around communicating with spirit guides, looking outside of yourself for guidance, whether it's in crystals, in oracle cards, in spirit guides, which is wonderful. These are all useful and amazing ways of connecting with spirituality. But as you said, it's important to go within. So can we unpack this a little bit more? And I was wondering whether you can give us like a little process that someone just starting out on their spiritual path, or someone who's like well ahead on their spiritual path would like to deepen their connection, because I feel that the simplest processes are usually the most impactful ones wherever we are on our path. Can you give us a tool or a practice that we can use to start experiencing ourselves as spirit?
That's a perfect question. And I think the way that I would do that and the way that I would approach that is first recognizing that at the end of the day, you are connected to a higher self. So I think introducing the higher self is the best way to do this task. And I define in the book the higher self is you without your humanness. So without your hormones, chemicals, without your conditioning, without your trauma. That's your higher self. And so I think to go deeper into your spirit is to realize that all your thoughts that have led up to now, your thoughts to take the high road, your actions that you are proud of, and all of the things that you have achieved to now have all been orchestrated by your higher self, and it's little taps on the shoulder. So to connect in with your spirit, maybe within 3 minutes, it is basically to reflect on all of the times that are highlighted to you in your life that you have made a change in your life. You know, breaking up with a toxic relationship, or quitting smoking, or whatever it is. All of these things is just basically you in a higher form, your higher self, your spirit, leading you on and guiding you. So I think just sitting and just reflecting on that links you in straight away with your higher self, just reflecting on the things that you have already achieved,
I
that
love
you're
that.
proud of.
I love that, because so often we hear about meditation, which is of course a great tool to connecting within, but it's amazing that we can reflect back on experiences we've been through and realize that these moments of wisdom and epiphanies that we've had that guided us toward like outside of situations or in certain positive situations, it was that higher self guiding us. Now, second part of the book is all about looking around, which we get into all the fun stuff of spirituality that people love talking about, like manifestation and what is source
Yeah.
and finding signs and dreams and symbols. So, how is the spirit world communicating with us in like all around, and how can we begin to start receiving those signs and understanding them?
Yes. Now, this is where it gets fun because it's very practical. So, I really want to introduce you who is listening to this concept. So, today or even tomorrow, we're going to test your spirit guide, that they are there, that they are listening, that they want to be there. So, if you are a person who commutes, like for example, coming up this week, you've got to travel somewhere or you've got to go to work, there are public buses all around us, and they advertise on them on the side, on the back, wherever. So this week, I challenge you to connect in with your spirit guide. We're going to put them to the test. They're going to put the color that you select on the side of the bus. They're going to put a word. They're going to put something on the bus that will show you that that is them, and they will bring that bus past you. They know exactly what to do. So this is how I tested my spirit guides once. I was on the way to work and I was, crying, I think. I was really upset. And I was like, Spirit, I just need you to show me a way out of this, or I need you to show me something. Are you even real, or am I just talking to myself? And I remember I said, before I finish work today, send a bus. Send a public bus to come past me and show me something. And I was driving behind this bus and I was trying to overtake it, and I couldn't overtake it. There was so many cars. And I realized, oh my God, I asked for a bus today. And I looked up and it was a real estate advertisement that says move. And it was like move house or question mark, move house. And I remembered that was my sign from Spirit to move from one house or move out and finally move from living where I was. And so that was my sign from Spirit that I needed. And I told them what I wanted rather than wait for them. You guide and tell your spirit guides how you want to be heard. So if 333 doesn't work for you, say don't use 333. Use butterflies, use buses, use something else. You tell them what you want and they will guide you because they only want to serve you, and that's how I would say, get practical. And to get practical with spirit, this is what I would say. Tell them what you want. Put your order in.
I love that. I love the specificity of it because so many times people are like, "Oh, I can't hear my spirit guides." And my question always is, "Well, have you told them how you want to be communicated?" And most of the times it's a no. So how do we deal with the ego when it comes in and it's like, "Oh, you just made that up." Like, how do we deal with this self-sabotage that inevitably happens when we receive signs from spirit?
Yes. I always teach people that when spirit talks, it happens in three ways. So the first thing that speaks will be spirit. They are stubborn and they make sure their message gets through. So the first thing is spirit. The second thing is your heart. And the third thing is your mind. So it takes about 15 seconds for you to go straight to ego, straight to mind. So anything you hear within 8 seconds of your question to spirit, whether that's yes, no, move, run, stay, whatever it is, that's going to be spirit. 100% spirit. So that's how any listener today who's listening, that within 8 seconds, spirit has already answered straight away. It in no way can be your ego. So that's how you trust. That's how I've trusted doing the work that I do. I am constantly faced with my ego. I have to be accurate with my messages to clients. They're paying a lot of money to see me. So I need to be very on the money. And how I stay on the money is knowing what I hear within the first 8 seconds. It has to be spirit. And they've shown me after trust and after history that is them. So that's my little tip for people. If you, even in developing your own gifts, the light workers out there, within the first 8 seconds, you're going to experience spirit's message.
Oh my God, I love the specificity of it. Like it's so impactful. Like I think it gives people a threshold to communicate to their ego that you know what, whatever's within the first 8 seconds, it's definitely spirit and it's not you ego, so you can keep out there. And of course, then as they start trusting it, they can prolong their time and they can allow that to expand even more, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly. I love that. Threshold. We need thresholds when we get started. And spirit knows that.
So part 3 of the book is all about looking beyond. So we've started by looking within, getting a sense of the spirit within us, our higher self, starting developing that connection, then expanding outside and starting receiving some signs from our spirit guides. And then we move into looking beyond, which is essentially communicating with the spirit world, with our ancestors, with our departed loved ones. Now, I feel from my experience with doing this work, that sometimes people get scared receiving signs from their departed loved ones rather than receiving signs from like spirits they've never met before. Why do you think is that? And have you had the same experience?
I have no idea. I had that experience. I don't know why, but I totally resonate with that. If I got a spirit guide sign, yes, that's fine. But if I hear something from my mom in spirit, or, if I have a psychic medium just do like a ad lib reading on me about my mom, I get nervous. I start to sweat. I'm like, oh my God, my mom, is coming through. So I, even as a medium, I'm happy to hear from spirit guides and long distant ancestors. But if you tell me about, someone who I know who passed away and they start talking to me, oh my God, I start to get, hot under the collar because I'm like, wow, this is really strong. So I think that perhaps there is this aversion to this because um, we might have a feeling of, are they judging my life now? Are they looking at my life and what are their thoughts? Because I'm out of the closet now since they died, or I'm this, or I'm that, or whatever it might be. So we need to know that our loved ones who are in spirit are in a space and realm of love. And so they have and hold no judgment to us and how we live our lives. So I think that that's the first thing my brother said to me when I saw him after my mum passed away. He said she's watching us now. And I'm like, what secrets are you holding, brother? I mean, like, my life's pretty kind of clean here. Like, what are you doing? Uh, and he's like, no, nothing. It's just like mum, can see more of our lives now. So I think it's just the fact that people are curious or maybe even wary of, what do they think personally? Because I knew them deeply. But we have perhaps a distance from spirit guides because perhaps we don't know them deeply. We never really have been in front of them in their presence, lived years with them. So it can be kind of removed a little bit, I would say. So it's a
That
little bit
makes
more open.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I want to share a little bit about my experience because I want to ask you something. So my dad passed away last year. We did not have the best relationship and there was a lot of like
Uh-huh.
unresolved business. Now, for a year, I refused to communicate with him because I was feeling anger, I was feeling resentment. I still hadn't healed from everything
Mm,
that I felt that I had experienced. And even when I tried to connect with him, I couldn't. And it wasn't until I finally managed to deal with my resentment and my anger that I could finally feel him connecting with me, and I was willing to connect with him again. So, because you do this work with people like channeling their ancestors and their departed loved ones all the time, I rarely do this in my own psychic work. What is your experience around the ease of communication when we found closure or not?
that's a really good question. And it's not very easy to answer this because I have clients, even I had a client this week that was all of the loved ones to step forward had abused her, but she needed to hear from them. And I feel as though spirit knows how much you can handle. And so that's what they're going to do. They know how much you can handle in a moment or how much you can handle for that. Um, I would say for this occasion, for your specific situation, it would be that um, it's on both sides. There's you are carrying responsibilities, your father, and you would be carrying things on both sides. So I think that he didn't want to water down the moment where if I flew on in and I was your father flying on in, it kind of maybe was like putting everything aside, and it showed that it wasn't. What I'm trying to say is that it's like the past is the past, but perhaps he really wanted you to have a moment, a season of just contemplating it, getting to understand it, and then coming in humbly, coming in from a true sense of I a deep a deeper way, rather than, oh my God, it's just my dad's flying on in and we're moving on and he's in spirit. It's like, no, I need my son to go through things, and then I'm going to come in humbly, like that I have done my kind of work too. I think that's probably what it was.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And for, like thinking back on my experience, that's exactly what I felt happened. Like he waited for me to go through this journey to find peace, because as soon as they pass on, they've already found the peace, and it's just a matter of us just going through the journey as well to catch up essentially on how they're already feeling. Now, how do we
Yes.
start creating a connection and start communicating with our departed loved ones on a daily felt basis? Of course, we can go to
Yeah.
like a psychic medium like you and just receive a reading, but how can we start having a connection like daily?
Daily. And that's what they desperately want. They don't want to have to go through me all the time because then they have to wait 6 months or whatever it is, the waiting list of the time. So spirit wants to speak to you every day. And it's not always what we expect. A lot of my clients are waiting for an apparition to fly out the wall and start talking to them. And it's not going to happen that way, because spirit knows you won't be in a good way if you had experiences like that. So I think first and foremost is to realize that they have not changed in the sense of their personality. Who that person was to you, they keep intact. If they had health issues, they've overcome them, obviously. If they had mental challenges, a lot of them have healed over in spirit. I think the best way to connecting with spirit is to pause and reflect on what you remember them to be in their best days, and recall that that's what they are like now, and to speak to them as if they were right there with you. The best way that I connect in with my mum on a daily basis is to incorporate them into my life and to share everything and to be open to them speaking. One of the ways that spirit will speak to us, in fact, is often through human beings, it's through other people, like family members, friends, and they will open the mouths of others to speak to us. So we need to be open to not just seeing the butterflies all the time and, oh, that's mom, and not just, waiting for, a reading on a live or something. It's important to see that sometimes you just calling your sister and then your sister speaks some really powerful and strong messages to you that really help you. That can be your mom just using her voice to speak to you. So I think that it's just being open and just incorporating spirit every day into your life. Just even the mundanity. When I'm making a coffee, mom, I'm making another coffee, whatever it is. And that's what I bring up in readings, where I will say, today, earlier on, you were making a sandwich and you were actually talking to your mum and you actually spilt your lemonade and you had to clean it up. Remember that moment earlier on this day? Your mum saw that, and then the person starts laughing because they said, I was talking to my mum in that moment. And that's how it makes it more real for you.
I love that. Now, a question that I get often from people, and I mean, different people have different perspectives about that, but I'd love to have yours. When it comes to our loved ones reincarnating into another lifetime,
yeah,
how do we still communicate with them? And do we still communicate with them? And do we communicate with a part of their psyche? Like, how does it work?
Mm. Yeah, that is a really beautiful question. And when they have reincarnated, for example, the other day I had someone, I told somebody that their pet had reincarnated. That's why it was very tricky to connect in with their pet, because their pet's actually reincarnated into a new pet. And they were devastated. They're like, but why I was waiting. And I said, no, you need to wait for the next part. They're going to be ready and waiting for you when you cross over, because they're going to live a couple of lives as a pet. They're going to keep reincarnating until they see you over in spirit, because they don't want to just sit there. They want to keep moving along. So I would say that, and I've written this in my book, that 80% of spirits are not yet ready to reincarnate within this century, within this kind of, this space of time. 20% of my clients have experienced where their loved one has reincarnated and we've had to link in with another loved one. So I think that for that one, and I personally just have this view, we are just talking to the person's higher self, the loved one's higher self. And so if they have reincarnated, you'll be experiencing, like you just said, a part of them. But don't think that you're just going to die and reincarnate straight away. That's not what I experience as a medium, what I see. I think that only the best people, the best people for the job reincarnate back into Earth, because we have a mission. So we have reincarnated before, but we just chose to come to Earth to do this. There are higher dimensions. There's more ascended beings that we could ascend to, but we chose to be in our humanness. And so I think that for that reason, don't take reincarnation lightly, people. Know that it's a bold and courageous thing to agree to when you're over in spirit. So that's how I see it, in my view, anyway.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with my perspective as well. Like thinking about soul groups and how we incarnate in like soul groups that we choose to play different parts in each other's lives. So it makes sense for
yes.
for our loved ones to wait until we've passed on as well, so we can join like a new incarnation together and go through different experiences. But at the same time, given that time and space are so intermingled, and the past and future and present is always present, there is always that higher self, as you said, that we can always tune in and communicate with. Oh my goodness, I love this conversation. Kale, I would love to hear a little bit about where can people get your book and where can people get in touch with you?
Yes. So you can get my book, kaleodonnell.com, or you can go to Amazon. If you like, Amazon's common. You can go there. You can go to Angus and Robertson, I think it is. Like, I'm still getting used to these book dealers. You can go to penguin.com as well and look for me. It's everywhere. If you're in Australia listening to this, you'll be able to get it at Big W. You'll be able to get it in a lot of retail stores there. And yeah, that's where you can find me, kaleodonnell.com, or on Instagram at @imkaleodonnell.
And you can find all the links in the show notes below. Kale, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. I loved this conversation.